Hello, 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 hello. Let me go ahead and add some people on. Send out notifications that we are live. I hope you all are having a beautiful evening. I am still recuperating from not feeling too well earlier today. So if my energy gets low, just help me get it back up. And bear with me as I add people on. Tonight's live is about dating with a purpose. So I will be hosted by me, of course, and you will have coming on featured that Clay couple, which is a marriage counseling couple, as well as you will also have David Moore coming on. So if you have any questions or if you would like for us to add you to the live to come up with a question and ask it to the panel, please do so. And I am just, like I said, sending out the notification that we are live. So bear with me one moment. Let me use this little stylus on here because it's low at my hand. Hey Kendra, hey Creative Minds, hey Trail, hey Anonymous Gia, hey Keisha, hey the Clay couple. I will bring you up in just one moment. Give me 1 second. And tonight's episode of Manifesting a Legacy is being sponsored by Elyot Goes to Earth, which is a children's book written by my dear friend Keadi-ann Williams. I will also put the link to her information to get your copy of this children's book on her page. Again, tonight's episode of Manifesting a Legacy is sponsored by Elyot Goes to Earth, or for my Jamaicans, Elyot Goes to Earth children's book. Hey Falon, hey Britt. Okay, so let me add on that Clay couple. Then let me also send out a accept. Give it accept. I keep accepting. Hello. Good evening. Good evening.
Hi. How you doing?
I am fine. How are you guys doing?
Absolutely wonderful.
Great. Great. Best day of our life.
I like that answer. David, if you are in the comments, please send me a request because I don't see how to add you. Let me see. Oh. I think I found it. There we go. So as I was telling everyone who's tuning in, tonight's episode of Manifesting a Legacy is about dating with a purpose. We want to get in depth with what actually is dating with a purpose to pursue actual marriage. So I will let you guys have your take and introduce yourselves.
All right, we are that Clay couple. We provide life-changing materials and classes and counseling to be able to get people to have the relationships that they want in their lives. And the first relationship is with the relationship with yourself. That's always where our focus is. And we just branch out from there. Now, people know us for couples counseling. Oh, I'm loving those hearts, y'all. Loving that, loving that. People know us for couples counseling. However, in regard to what it is that we do and who we serve, that's pretty much everybody.
I like that answer. Serving people. Not too many people nowadays want to serve people. They want to be served, but they don't want to serve people.
Right. We call it serving God's creation. That's literally what we say. We're service workers.
And Mr. David just stepped in. So, sir, I will allow you to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening. I apologize for my tardiness. I had some technical difficulties. If I could put that sign that said, please stand by, I would have put that up there. But my name is David Moore, _Moore is what I go by. I am basically an encourager, a lover of people, keeper of peace. As far as being pulled into this today, I am also what's called a prep coach, which I do prep, which stands for Relationship Enhancement Program. It's has a 25-year background out of the state of University of Colorado. I've been doing this since 2008. Prep coach since 2008. I've been able to work with programs about here in the city of Pittsburgh, and I'll leave it at that until we get in a little further. I don't want to belabor the hour, but I appreciate Misco having me on here, and it's wonderful to meet the two of you as well.
You awesome.
Pleasure to meet you, brother.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Well, I thank you guys for tuning in tonight, but I thank you for more so coming on and being willing to participate in this dialogue that we're about to engage in. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments, or you can drop a notification to send a request, and we will add you up so that way you can ask your question directly to the panel. So I will ask each of you, what do you feel like courting is?
You want me to answer?
Well, you can. I mean, I have a thought. I want to hear what you have to say.
You got a thought?
I have a thought.
Okay. If you're unmarried, courting should be done with the intention of seeking a long-term relationship or long-term relationship or partnership. However, even people who are married should be courting. So the art of courtship never should stop within an intimate relationship. But since we are talking today about people who are not married, because yes, but I will say this. Now, I was raised old school. You know, my grandparents raised me, and I was told the goal of dating, the goal of courtship was to get to marriage. Because, I mean, otherwise you just date and date.
Right. Yes,
and date. And date.
Right.
And date.
Yeah, you're just getting a free meal at that point.
Why are you talking about me?
I'm just saying.
Because I did. I'm a good dater.
Free meal, a free movie, or something. You know?
When I was dating, my kids ate good. Fridge full of takeout food. Restaurants from all over, we ate good. And then
exactly, my brother. Exactly.
No, I'm appreciating the transparency right now.
He knows this. Then I need to do this for marriage. And so then, you know, it became different. Then I even cooked the meal for a brother.
Exactly.
Oh, she knew,
yeah,
she
you know what? That's right.
I got
tricked.
Beef ribs at that.
I got tricked.
That was the courting process. I wanted to see if she can cook.
And that should be a part of the process. You get that one meal just so you know that I can't cook.
You know, and he didn't get
David, let me hear your definition or your thoughts on courting.
I'm a bit old school myself, and I'm not so young that I don't know the term courting. So I just go ahead and put that out. So I would say somewhat along the same lines. I believe courting, well, let me do it two ways. I used to believe it was always towards dating. Not that I don't believe that now. It's just I believe now the courting process kind of goes along the lines of what the sister said when she started, as far as getting to know oneself and getting to know the individual that you're around, for the purpose of a long-lasting relationship, whatever type of ship that is, friendship, relationship, partnership, whatever the case. And I think courting is important from the standpoint, it gives you an opportunity to learn the person and then learn who you are as well, being around that particular individual as well.
Right. And I like what you just said, because I believe that one of the things, particularly women, because nobody tells us this, we're just told you be a lady and you court and you date and you get married. However, courtship should be a process for you to learn about you. Part of the things that I learned while courting was I learned that I don't like this. I like this. I prefer a certain type of man. I even noticed similarities within the within the men that I was dating, and I was like, oh my goodness, I think I like a certain type of dude.
You realize your type.
Right. I think I could see my type. Now I know what I might say my type was, but then there was the type that kept showing up in my face, and then I started taking notes as to what I was being a magnet for. And I'm not talking about the men who will approach you because you're cute. If you're attractive and you look like, you could be unattractive, but if you look like you have the right equipment, someone will approach you. That's not it.
All day.
Exactly.
You just look like you have the right equipment. However, I started taking notes as to the men. Like some of them, all of them, well, not all of them, but they read certain types of books. I remember seeing, he's read that book. He mentioned that book. Like 3 of them mentioned this same book. It's like, and then I'm thinking, do I need to read this book? What is it? What's in this book that's attracting this type of man?
Right.
But these are the things, but I learned about myself. And these are the things that we don't teach that dating is for. Dating is for, courtship is for you to sit there, tell them what it is that you want, tell them what it is that you're looking for, and y'all see if y'all agree.
I agree with everything that each of you said. For me, courting is like an elimination process. I'm learning you, I'm learning me, but then I'm like, okay, yeah, you got some do's or some don'ts that I don't accept.
It's the checklist.
Some things that you just know are triggers for you that you're like, okay, no, that's not gonna work. Or you like to raise your voice, yeah, that's not gonna work. Or you like to curse when you get upset, okay, that's not how we're gonna communicate. I don't have the time, and at this age of my life, I don't have the time or the patience to teach you how to be a man and how to properly communicate.
And I mean, and I would like to look at it as saying, you know, it's the engagement that goes beyond the physical attraction.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
I think people get too stuck on the physical attraction and relationship goals and being that couple. People don't even go through the courting phase. They just go straight into a relationship. And then it's like they wonder why it didn't work because you never even gave yourself a chance to know this person.
Exactly. Because they go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
No. You know, by all means. I got the thought right here. I go right ahead.
Okay. You know, and I mean, because you look at, in most instances, a lot of people go beyond, I like you. Oh, you cute. You know, I wonder, can I hit that? You know, and
come on.
And
say it for what
I knew the temperature was going to change. That's why I want him to go ahead. I knew it was going to change.
You know, and that's about as much of a courting process that really take place in a lot of times.
Right.
And what I say, look, if someone is marriage material, and ladies, if you think he's husband material, you can't let him hit it. You don't sleep with the man that you think that you could potentially marry. He don't get that. He got to earn that.
You notice the comments got quiet, right?
I know. I don't want to hear that. Oh, I can't give it no.
They was going.
Crickets.
They was going, and then
I didn't say for you not to pleasure yourself. I said you don't give it to him.
Because there's a difference. I hear you.
There's a difference in that. There's a difference in that.
There's a difference. Kind
Somebody
of.
said what? No hitting it. I
Mm-mm.
buy your bullet, get a rabbit. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
That's a whole nother. Yeah.
You don't.
That's a whole nother conversation. Exactly. That's
But
a
they
whole
need to know that.
Somebody said I done
I hear
messed
you.
up.
I hear you.
Don't
I
say.
hear you.
There
you might
spiritual
mess up
strength
because-
in withstanding.
Because what happened is you complicated, and I know we kind of seem like we jumped out there in the middle of the ocean all of a sudden, but what I
No,
believe,
I get what she's saying.
you know, you mess up when you remove all the curiosity, all the opportunity to really engage in a person or engage with a person on a mental level, on a spiritual level, on an emotional level, versus just being sexual with them, because after that, they found out what it is. It's clouded after that point there, because now, you know, maybe you think the D is good, and maybe think the P is good, you know, and now, but that person's praise is all hell. You know, this person has no traits that you're looking for, but
The sex
the
is
sex
good.
is good.
So to that point, interject there, to that point, to go all the way back to what he initially said as far as the engagement process. I think sometimes the mistake that we make, and almost literally what you said is jumping to that stage, is we sometimes forget to like people first.
Exactly.
We forget to fall in like with them before we actually fall in love with them.
Exactly.
And it's the fact of falling all in itself, because sometimes you stumbled and you like, okay, let me get my balance, and you didn't got your balance, you didn't fell into you further out than you're ready for. So the likes, like Misco said, sometimes you got to go through that checklist. You be like, okay, well, they raised their voice a little bit too much at that particular point. Sometimes that's a warning sign. It's not a red flag, and it's not the scene of a bad relationship, but it's the sign of a bad relationship.
I know once I had a sister that, you know, I was thinking of engaging towards and having a conversation with, and I just have to use that term like that, right?
To clean it up.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you. But what happened is,
Take your time. Take your time.
I am, baby. I am.
I took a drink for you.
But what happened is, when we was having the conversation, I couldn't give her a call back initially like she wanted to. I mean, I was busy. And so she went to blowing up her phone talking about she won't be ignored. I'm like, damn, shawty, you know, I mean, really? I mean, I don't even know you talking about you ain't gonna be ignored.
Oh, I know that wasn't me.
You know, right. Exactly. You know, and so, but in that courting process, she was allowed to show herself. And then I could detach from the situation. I ain't ghosted her. I just told her, you know, look, this ain't gonna work between you and I.
Right. Because I know one of the things Hasan said, he said he knew that if he never called me again, that it would be over because I wasn't coming for him.
Wow.
And that's a deep thought that I don't think people understand the power behind that. Especially us as women, we don't understand the power that we have, that we give to men. And just reverting back to the statement about withstanding and abstinence, there's a lot of power in that. Because once you give that over to the man, not only have you weakened yourself, but then you also made it like, okay, if it's good, you cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over the wrong thing.
Exactly.
Now,
Missing all the red flags, everything flying past your head.
Yeah.
Because all you see and all you thinking about is your emotions and the physical. And when you allow your emotions to control you, it's really bad from there.
Yeah,
your emotions will have you stuck in a cycle with somebody treating you like crap or ignoring you for years, and you will tell yourself it's love.
What you saying, brother?
I just wanted to put out there and you know, trigger alert real quick. And I said, and I've had this conversation before. Actually, look, I'm dating myself a little bit. So I went into a chat room in America Online some years ago.
Woo.
Yeah, exactly. And, I had stated that women have all the power, and I was called everything but a child of God in that room for, you know, booted out the room, etc. And the reason I say that is, and I've mentioned this, I think I've mentioned this on another live. It might have been with Misco before. I might have mentioned this, or I know I have mentioned it before, so it's not like it's new information. But I think women, my opinion, women have all the power because people forget that the peacocks with all the plumage are the males, not the females. They're the ones that do all the prancing around. If you look at penguins, if you look at other beasts out in the world, I'm not giving us, you know, I'm not saying we're animals, but I'm saying that animal instinct when it comes to, you know, we don't learn first, then like, then love. We do it in reverse.
Right.
We love first, then we like, well, we like what everything else that they do. We like that they can cook. We like that they look good when they go out. And then we learn how to stay in that relationship instead of reversing that.
Exactly.
But I think women have the power because until a woman decides to like what your swag is, how you dress, whatever words are coming out of your mouth, the way you smell, the way you pull up, what type of drive you have, the way you articulate yourself or not, etc., you have no play. Until she says, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and let him watch this. I'm gonna go ahead and let him pick me up. I'm gonna go ahead and let him pick me up to dinner or to lunch. I'm gonna let him have my phone number. I'm going to allow him to call me, you know, things of that nature. And I know some people may look at it, and I'm not trying to be insensitive, that I know it can go both ways, and I know things aren't as they always were a while ago. But that's just my belief. And anytime a woman has decided to allow a man, or in any type of relationship, that you made it a conscious decision to allow that person into your space and to learn more about you by coming over to your home, being in your car, those things also are intimacies that you can't easily just hand over to people.
Exactly. And you know, something that it's amazing how you said that, brother, because even when her and I got together, we first started talking. One of the things I asked her, are you granting access?
He asked for access.
I asked for access.
That's literally the word he used. He asked for, will you grant me access to you?
And so in that because for me, I understand this, and sometimes I think the game gets a little foolish out here. But when a man wants a woman, he go after her. Men are conquerors anyway. We're gonna go after what we want. You know, I tell
somebody said that's smooth.
You know,
they in the mirror trying their lines out right now.
But you know, you have to be in a position of making a man or having a man in the courting process. And this is why we saying this is what I'm saying. The courting process is so vital to people really getting together, because he's going to see what he wants. He's going to want to find out what he wants. And you have to just give him just enough to keep him coming back. So you can also learn him.
Right, and that's why you can't give all your cookies, you know. Because they become a distraction.
It's a distraction. Exactly.
They become a distraction.
Exactly.
I can say from my own personal experience in the past, I've allowed access to just my personal being, access to my home or things of that nature too quickly, and they didn't value it.
Exactly.
Because I didn't value it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
We have a question from Shybella718. She says, "Can overlooking your type lead to heartache in the end? Attraction is the most thing for her."
Overlooking your type.
Overlooking your type lead to heartache. Because you were saying how you realize by courting, the men have something in common in general in regards to a type that you didn't realize was your type. You would say this was your type, but then in actuality, you learned that this was your type.
Oh.
Well, I mean, a person have to be open. I mean, when you start talking types, like, I mean, for myself, I have a type. I know I have a type. I like them cute. I like them smart. I like them a little independent, right? I know what type
But
I
he
like.
also knows that gonna come with this mouth.
But exactly, you know, that comes with something. You know, that also comes with something. So I understand. Okay, there's the pros and cons to that. Now, sometimes I will cut myself off. You know, and please forgive me and saying it. I know I'm not going to date outside, or I'm not going to inquire a woman outside of my culture. You know, I know that about me. I'm not saying that's good for any or not good for anyone else. I just know that about me.
Right.
I'm not going to go outside of my culture to get a woman. But that might be my preference at that point. That might be where my boundary step. Everybody is entitled to having a boundary.
Right.
And having a preference. If you have a preference, but now if your preference in a sense, you know, if you like this guy and he's, you know, he works for maybe not the most glamorous job, but he has good qualities. Maybe you don't want to be superficial and you want to look at the qualities a person brings to the table. That might be something different.
So this is my answer to Shay. My response to that is don't get so attached to your type that you don't get attached to the man who will inspire you to feel loved and be good to you. You can be so attached to that man that you have created in your head that the man that God has for you and that the man that will actually love you and who will call you to be good, you will ignore him.
Right.
So go where that man is and not keep this idea. Definitely have your list of things that you know I ain't going for that.
Right.
Okay, she said that's what she was trying to get to.
Right.
All right, so I do know what this is what I would like. Cause he ain't my type. He over here right now. He's sitting here, beside me, and y'all can't see. He over here filling me up right now.
Why you telling my business? Why you over here telling my business?
No wonder he got that big.
He looked like.
Yeah, you over here telling all my business.
But is it true?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
He's like, it's true, but I mean,
I'm good. You know, she want me to keep a good expression on my face. This is how I'm doing.
understandable.
You know, she told me to smile for the camera. I'm smiling.
I think the part of that too that both of you said that's real interesting. To add to that, and that's an excellent question that they had, was sometimes we get affixed to types, and we don't even know what our type is sometimes, because you have to look at the ebbs and flows of where we're at spiritually, emotionally, recreationally, politically, all of that. But I think sometimes, as far as type is concerned, we may have a type, if that's the term we're using, but what version of that type are we getting? Because there may be a type that we have, but the version or their potential that they're supposed to be, they're not there yet.
Right.
So we may have a type like, okay, they look like this, and not like Misco said. Do I now allow them in so that I can see what version of that type I'm getting?
Okay.
You know, in the E class, am I getting an E class or a C class?
Exactly.
Am I getting a Pathfinder or a Rogue?
Right.
They look the same. They ride different though. So, you know, that's sometimes I think we have to be a little easier on ourselves in the saying, okay, I had a type, and not that I completely messed it up, effed it up or whatever, but maybe I didn't see something, like you said, maybe a flag went past me that I didn't pay attention to because I was so fixated on that type that I didn't allow myself to give that. If I'm so fixed on this type, I didn't give this other version or this other type over here a turn because I'm too busy. I'm stuck on, back in the day, oh, he got to be light skinned and bow legged. Oh, he got to, he got to have. I feel some type of way. I'm the Dark Brothers. I'm getting off my chest. I'm just getting off my chest. That's all. I'm just getting off my chest.
You know what I'm saying, bro? What you talking
Remember
about? Ain't nothing wrong with that.
remember the add water hair? You know, they had to add water hair.
Yeah,
and we was
add
good,
water here.
bro. We was good. We was good for a while through DeBarge, through
Yeah.
we was
We
good.
in trouble for a while. You know, Christopher Williams.
Prince. We got through Prince. We got through El DeBarge. We got through
all them cats there.
No. Albie Shore messed it up again. See, that's what I was about to say. Albie Shore.
I knew his name was coming.
And he was gonna mess. So then Albie Shore, and it was like, oh well, Albie Shore can't sing, he can't really dance. Then Christopher Williams showed up. See, I can go down the whole list.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. So, but you know, that being said, I think sometimes we just have to look at the version, and then we have to look at, again, going back to self. What version of us, where are we at to where we're liking that type? Because everybody wanted. What was MC Light's song? Roughneck. Remember, everybody wanted the Roughneck.
And Around the Way Girl.
Everybody wanted Around the Way Girl. You know, everybody, you know, it's just sometimes we allow those things. And if you look at social media now, a lot of us look at that, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that reality show experience, and it's not even real. It's a scripted version of reality. So,
and as we're speaking about types, I want us to also, again, coming back to the relationship with ourselves. And this guy, I think someone up here called it the ghost guy. And so this person, be it male or female, that you've created in your head, we fail to ask ourselves, am I who this person would be attracted to?
Right.
When I looked at my man that I had, I knew, I can't, he ain't gonna want me to do this right here.
Right.
I even knew that the type of man I knew that I was going to want spiritually, that there was some things about me that I was going to have to change spiritually, because I couldn't be with a man who didn't do that, or who didn't have this, who didn't have that principle. However, I was like, okay, well, the ones who had that principle, they're not going to be cool with you doing such and such, Naaila. So check yourself. And so we have this type, again, being so attached to what we have created. Well, you have to be mindful. Does he or she want you?
That's good.
Do you have the traits that they are attracted to? You know, when
Absolutely.
I tell you know, people think, well, I want me and I'm a woman, so I love a man. And so you know, there's this thought now of I need a high value man. Well, no, I don't really like them.
I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Wait a minute. I got you, boo.
Okay.
I got you. I'm gonna hook you up.
Okay.
Because the value that people are putting, the principles, the scorecard that's used for these people, that type, is very superficial.
Yes.
It's shallow.
Very shallow.
Yes.
And you know, when they say high value man, I have yet to hear someone say, what church does he go to? You know, what is his faith? What is his prayer practice? You know, what is his emotional intelligence? I could care less about whether or not he makes six figures. I can do that. I've done it. I'm not
you're doing it.
You're right. 6 figures. Okay. Next.
Right.
But are you 6 figures in front of the things that matter to me? When my children see you, do they see a six-figure man loving their mama? Do they see a six-figure man praying before God? Do they see a six-figure man doing community work? So, you know, if that's a high-value man, give me that low, cheap, I got $5 on it, brother, any day.
I completely agree. They
But
have
that ain't
a
true.
priority. I think a lot of times so many people lack knowing self, but they also lack knowing who they have to answer to. I want a man that knows he has to answer to someone else about how he treats me and vice versa.
Right.
Yes.
Even when my father was alive, and I'm not saying Hasan, he would do or say something, and I would say, my daddy would not like you talking to me like that. I'm in my 40s, sitting up here telling him, you don't want me to tell my daddy. But because
Right.
I have had men around me who have taught me how I should be loved, how I should be handled, how I should be spoken to.
And I think that's important because what you and Misco both said is it's a value system thing. And sometimes our value system, not that anyone's value system is wrong,
Right.
but we allow our value systems to be dictated by certain things.
Right.
And in some cases, because of what we've gone through, whether it be traumatic or even superficial, we a lot of times our value systems may be dysfunctional. So we may value someone that is good to our children, but aren't good to us. We may value someone that treats us right and vice versa, doesn't treat the children right. We may have someone that I've had friends and family members that they were trophy individuals where they dressed them up, took them out, and they looked good while they was out, this, that, and the third, et cetera. And they got home, it wasn't the same. Wasn't that. So I think I think you're both saying a lot of what we need to look at.
Exactly.
It's a value system thing, and we have to. If you don't have any, you don't know. I've always tell people the two worst things that you could ever say is I don't know and I don't care, because if you don't know, that means you haven't put yourself in a position to be enlightened or engaged or even educated by anything. And if you don't care, that means I have to worry about my safety, because if you don't care about you, then you sure
know you don't give a damn about me.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on now.
So those two things in themselves will dictate, well, not all the time, but sometimes will dictate what type of value system someone has. And we all weren't as blessed or fortunate, even if we didn't have a mother, father figure, grandmother, auntie, and we already know how some of them uncles, you might, man, Uncle Cool's a fan, but I know what he telling me ain't right, but he cool though. So I'm listening when I'm gonna try it, and it may take us down a road that we don't as easily come back down. We don't as easily come back through. So it's challenging. So the value system thing, it's, back to what I think seems to be the figurehead is knowing oneself, knowing what you will allow and knowing what you will accept within yourself.
And just to elaborate on her question of can knowing your type lead to heartbreak in the ending? If you know your type is toxic, that's where it's going to lead to. And sometimes we put ourselves in cycles and patterns of, okay, I keep going after the same type. And for me, I can say I've experienced that and I've endured that before, because I have a healing spirit about me. I have a giving spirit about me. So I attract people who need.
Yep.
So I went through periods of, okay, it's okay to help people, but people also have to pour back into the well. You can't just drain me and come around when you need something or you want something. That's not a healthy relationship of any level, whether it be friendship or an actual relationship between a man and a woman. So you have to know those things about yourself. Like, what are my triggers? What are the toxic traits about me that I need to change and that I need to heal, so I don't keep bringing and attracting the same type of people?
I attracted entrepreneurs. They'll be very successful men. That's why when women say, all these broke men out here, I ain't seen them.
Just saying.
I attract entrepreneurs, but I now know why. And Hasan calls it, my beast mode. When I get in the zone and I work hard. And men who were entrepreneurs, they were attracted to that. This was the problem, though. They all wanted me to work for them. I mean, literally. I even had one who he had, because I've been in the mental health industry for, like almost 30 years. And I wanted to do my own thing. And his thought was, I'll just say he had a security business. And he had an office over in Buckhead. And he was like, yeah, you can do your business and you can have it located in my office. How is my mental health stuff gonna be in your security business. Then I thought about it. He planning on me just sitting up in there working for him.
And with courting, and this is something that I think about in that, and with the courting process, because her and I, you know, because that's really kind of how we met too, by, you know, thinking of, I was looking for somebody to actually do a curriculum for me, right? And so,
and I really did do the curriculum.
right, she did do the curriculum. She did do the curriculum, you know.
Yeah, that wasn't code. That wasn't code speech. It was actual. It was actual curriculum.
And so,
I tried. I was trying to. I tried to go.
You just had to throw that in there.
you know, but one of the things that, you know, was interesting in the courting process, we got to talking, and I got to be able to hear her, and I'm like, well, why don't you try doing? She said, well, this is what I do. This is what I do. This is what I do. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to push it, but as we got together, and then she started seeing more, then it's like, man, you know, even how we actually, because I was actually doing something totally different from what we're doing now, right? And so she started asking me questions. Now, of course, we're married at this point, but the idea of being supportive.
We merged.
Right. Even in the courting process, the idea was like, how can we be there supportive of one another?
Our original goal was, what can I do to help this brother out? And what can he do to help me out?
Mm-hmm.
That was really what it was. Just two people just trying, you know, with great ideas. Mm-hmm. He had a skill set. I had a skill set. And right. Neither one of us had a whole lot of money. Right. So let's see what we can do. What can we make happen for each other? Because I really was not thinking about him like, you know, like that at all.
Right. She wasn't stunting you like that.
I mean, you know, in real talk, until I actually met her, I mean, she wasn't on my radar. You see what I'm saying? Either, you know, we was just really two people that, you know, God put in each other's path, you know, and then, you know, she had her thing going, and I'm like, you know, I know who I am, so I tell, you know, she had pursuers, you know, I tell the story myself, she had pursuers, but, you know, there's only one bull in this pen. Right. Oh. So, you know, I opened my gate, I called it, and I put my pen in the gate. There's only one bull in this pen. And she came in, you know, and here we are today. But that was a courting process, too. Right. Yeah, that just what, you know, woman, get here. You know what I mean? It really didn't work like that. It was, she cut into me. I was able to cut into her. We start understanding that we had some values that was similar. We actually learned some things about each other that was different, but the difference didn't really distract from what it is that we actually had going on.
I think it's interesting. I'm sorry, go right ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think it's interesting too, like Misco did. I didn't want to overlook the last part of that question was, you know, it leading to heartbreak. I think sometimes the heartbreak isn't so much that somebody did it to us. It's what we feel that we allow to ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so the courting may be, you get all the way to that point of, okay, this is where it's supposed to turn into something else, and it doesn't.
And it doesn't.
Either you get ghosted, you may lose interest, or you may actually within yourself not realize that you've been doing something to push that attraction away, because you start to find little by little, it's whittling away at what your values are, or what your, like you had mentioned, your supposed checklist was or was not. And when you start seeing that, anyone that is in tune, for lack of a better term, when you start sensing that or you start feeling that, you'll tend to pull away. You may not necessarily do it intentionally, but if you're someone like Misco said, where you always are doing for people, and then if you can recover fast, basically, if you're always recovering fast, people never see that you're afflicted or affected by anything, because you recover so quickly. If you always have your cape on and you never take your cape off, people never think anything bothers you, and they feel that you're always supposed to be the superhero, the superheroine, the one to show up, the supporter, etc. But the key word out of what all of y'all have said is, someone always wants us to have time to uplift them, but they never want to give time to invest in someone else. And when someone invests in you, and brother, when you said that you know, she invested in what you were saying, and you were invested in her by saying, okay, why don't you do this? When he said, come do your business in my building, it wasn't investing in you. That was saying, okay, I'm going to involve you, but I'm not investing in what you're doing. And sometimes we have to be careful of that when we get around people that I'm gonna say it, they tolerate us.
And there would have been a time in my life when he said that, I would have been so excited, would have called all my friends, would have been so happy to decorate that office and be able to hang up my degrees and just really be so happy he let me sit over there in the corner because I had a high value man.
Absolutely.
But I'm lowballing myself.
100%. Absolutely. Yep.
But I was at a place in my life where I could say, that doesn't sound like a win-win.
Yep. And that's where I think that's sometimes where the heartbreak come in, because you say, man, I really thought they were on my team or they were trying to help me. Or I thought, tell me if you heard this, I did all this for them and ... Right. And you can feel that in however we want to feel that in. But I think sometimes we make that mistake and we do that. And then we have to go through that cycle again. And that's where I think sometimes we don't necessarily lose ourselves, but it chips away at us just a little bit. Now, those of us, I'm like Misco, I heal pretty quick, but I heal quick. And then I used to jump back out there real quick too. So it's like, then I'm playing, I'm playing Frogger. It's like, okay, I got to get back across the street because I'm missing out on something that's over there, as opposed to saying, okay, let me sit my butt down for a little while, lick my wounds, figure out what I did. You know what I'm saying? Lick my wounds, figure out what I did or didn't do, get myself together, give myself some courage, some encouragement, some self-esteem, some act right, and then potentially put myself back out into the circumstances so that I don't do, and Nico used the word, it becomes cyclical. And so we keep coming around that same thing. And I think sometimes, in my belief, I think God does that so that we finally make a decision. Like, okay, I'm gonna keep putting it in your face till you do different. Okay, here it is again. I'm gonna keep putting it in your face until you do different. And then the time that you actually do different, that's when the shift happens. That's when not even so much change, because as men, we hate to hear change, but that's where the evolution comes, where sometimes we say it's not so much as being changed as a person, it's just let me change. If I change the way I'm doing things, it's going to change the where I get to things. It's just a matter of that, and anybody knows that. If there's road construction, you have to drive around. It doesn't change the destination. You just know a different way to navigate around it. That's all.
And I think I'll be a little bit more, even for myself, being a tad more transparent about something. I don't heal as quick. Right? But I'll jump out there.
Well, most people
I appreciate you sharing that too, by the way. That can't be easy I appreciate you sharing that.
Right. I mean, I don't heal as quick, and I jump out there, and the only thing at that point, I'm just a hurt person hurting other people.
But because when you said to take a moment to heal your wounds, people don't want to admit that they've been wounded. I'm fine.
Right.
The way that they healed is I got rid of this person.
I'm good.
But you didn't get rid of your contribution to the relationship.
Right. I mean, I'm in love. Been in love with this woman, and gosh, we broke up, or we done, or we over with. Now I'm finna go ruin about 3 or 4 other ones. Yeah. And then that's how and knowing that, and here's the thing, knowing that these potential women that I'm going, because I'm gonna act like water. I'm going with the path of least resistance. I know where I can go.
Now that's funny.
Men are masters of women.
I know where I can go.
Can I jump in real quick? That's funny you said that. Real quick story.
Sure.
So the key words that you said is the path of least resistance. So I was in a car accident some years ago. I go to the physical therapist. I work out. I take care of myself by the grace of God. Nothing happened to me in the car accident. So I go in. The physical therapist said, okay, I just want you to do a couple of things to make sure everything is the way it is. Do you have any pain? I says, nah, I haven't had any pain. I feel good. So what they said was, okay, I want you to do this. You know, again, I work out, I'm good. Oh, okay, you know, light work, did it. They asked me to do the next thing. Okay, light work, did it. Then they said, okay, I want you to do a couple of lunges. I need you to hold these 5-pound, little 5-pound dumbbells. And I'm like, oh, I'll lunge with more than that. I'm good. So I go, I do the little couple of steps. I come back and I'm giving them the look like, you know, okay, challenge me. And they said, okay, put the weights down and do it again. Put the weights down. I did it again. And they were like, okay, how'd that feel? I said, it felt fine. They said, okay, now we're going to show you how you looked. So when they showed me how they had filmed it, instead of being here linear, I was like this. Now, what they told me, what they told me was the reason why you have no pain is because your body will take the path of least resistance. So your pain is here where you should be straight. It's going to allow you to stay offset and dysfunctional so that you don't feel anything.
Wow.
So we emotionally become water and take the path of least resistance instead of straightening up and doing what's necessary, which is the healing process of doing things the right way.
Exactly.
But I don't want to do that because it's going to hurt.
Right. I'm not saying there's no, you know, and I don't think any of us are saying there's no one right way to do it. There's no actual way to do it. We find our path to do it. But brother, when you said that, it reminded me of that story because I was like, man, so when they said, okay, now lean this way and do it this way, that pain shot straight through my legs and through my back. And they was like, that's what we need to work on. And sometimes we have to do that is we have to straighten up and say, okay, we take a deep breath. Remember they used to tell you to, you know, just to, you know, breathe through it, bite down on something. And we have to get through that actual process because pain does not feel good. But, you know, healing, you have to hurt, in my opinion, you have to hurt before you can heal because hurt people tend to hurt people.
Exactly.
Right. But we have to admit that we're healing because something we say in our counseling sessions is that people are not good self-reporters. You know, people always report being, you know, emotionally balanced, I'm mentally stable. Let me ask your Aunt Maybelle what she heard about you Sunday after church.
And no, not only that, we can sit here in a session. Give me about 2-3 sessions with this cat. He'll break down like a 12 gauge. You know,
y'all almost had a death on Instagram. Crying. Don't do that no more. Don't do that. Y'all almost had a death on the live just now.
I mean, and then tell me how your coworkers, how they can't stand you.
You know, I mean, because you sitting there thinking you good when everything, every pore in you is oozing out bad.
All of your
relationships just show hurt, shows pain.
To Bella, I had to chime in on what they said. They said, yeah, everybody wants to give the Carfax about themselves. Everybody wants, absolutely. I'm gonna use that. I appreciate that. That's good. We want to give the Carfax, but we really don't. You know, when you go out and you start a car, you don't realize that he didn't put 50 weight oil in that thing. That's why it sounds so good. It's not the oil that's supposed to be in it.
Yeah.
And we same thing to ourselves. We dress it up, we make it up, we out, we coach it up or whatever. It's like, oh, I'm good. We just hurt individuals up under there, and there something found a chink in our armor. It got in, and it's dealing with us. And sister, like you said, we don't take the time to analyze that, and we don't deal with it. We report what we think people want to hear.
Okay, I want to give this couple that we're working with right now. So, and they're not in the courting process, but this lends to how much we try to stay leaning as you did in your physical therapy. So, like most men who report to be healthy, and I will say he's definitely aware, he doesn't want to do anything to make his wife cry. And he doesn't want his children to see his wife cry. And she was in tears. And he was upset about it. And this is a couple, they've been together, more than 15 years? Okay, so they've been together more than 15.
At least 10, I know for sure.
Right, and so that makes sense, right? Yes, you shouldn't want to hear your wife cry. Well, we dug a little deeper and found out the reason why he didn't want to hear his wife cry is because his father used to make his mother cry, to the extent that when he was a little boy, he heard stories, and he eventually saw the pictures where his father left his mother for dead. He had beat her and left her for dead in the bathtub. And he had seen her cry. And then that happened.
My goodness.
And his wife didn't even know this.
My goodness.
And so when this is what it means to when we don't heal.
Right.
And we go from, and this man, before he got married, he was in other relationships.
Mm.
And you're walking around with things with this type of intensity or even less than, taking it to relationship to relationship. And he turned it into something so honorable. I don't want to make a woman cry because I don't want to be like my father. That is admirable. But what about the little boy who saw his mother beat? And the remnants, the residue, because he didn't actually see the beating. But what about the little boy who saw that, who saw his mother being left like that?
Right. Yeah, that's tough.
And then, you know, and obviously in the courting process, I'm not going to come up on you the first day and I'm going to find out all your trauma. Right.
That's true.
I mean, because if you start telling me about all your trauma on that first date, I'm going to leave you alone.
Because oversharing is a problem.
It's a problem as well. Right.
I don't believe when people say they keep it 100, everybody don't want 100. Sometimes you got to give people 45, 54.
Exactly. You got to
73.
ease that out. You got to ease that out. Exactly. Right. And so if I'm looking at having a relationship with someone, and I mean, it's still things that I didn't learn about my wife. My wife didn't learn about me until we were actually married. You know, because some of that wasn't mine to have at that point. Some of that wasn't hers to have at that point.
Okay, somebody said, when do we drop this? This type of information, maybe the word it drop. You know, once you get to a point where you believe that this might be someone that you might want to invest in, and you want them to invest in you long term, then you may not get to that level, but yes, it is time. It's time to start sharing. And when we say sharing, it doesn't mean the most devastating parts of your past. You share the good things too. You know, because I'm going to go back to that. I think that he is a man who is very chivalrous. And that's a very good characteristic and trait to have.
Right.
However, the origins of it are deep rooted. Are deep rooted. And who would know that? I mean, he didn't even put it all together.
We pulled it out of it.
Yeah.
But the thing, once you get to that point, start getting curious and ask questions about what people say to you, and don't just assume that because you heard it. Oh, okay, I know, I understand that.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, I can relate, to that, because so now what I would say, for a man who's chivalrous, ask him, who taught you to model that behavior? That's sweet. I like it. It feels good. Who taught you how to do that? Where'd that come from?
Yeah, we don't always ask the whys. We just want the outcome.
Exactly.
Right. I'm just enjoying it. I'm just saying, open my door.
Right.
And pick up the tab. I'm just going to enjoy those things without finding out where did these patterns come from.
Did you read it in that magazine, or did you? Right. Somebody really show you this?
It's Ebony Man 92.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
And I think when we meet people, even when we're courting people, we meet their representative. We don't meet the true them. And sometimes we give them our representative. Like, I just want to show you the shiny, bright side of me. And then it's like, when you're in a relationship, it's like everything is coming out. And it's like you have to unfold that type of stuff in layers.
Yeah.
Especially generational curses. And those are things that you should know and want to know about your partner or your spouse, because it can affect your relationship, but it can also affect your offspring.
Right.
Yes. So
He is just a smile.
What?
Just
I
a
ain't did
grin.
nothing.
Because after she said that statement, every time he smiled, that's all I'm thinking about.
I ain't did nothing. I'm just sitting here.
I'm trying to stay on this part of the screen.
Right, but it's just like he
I'm
like
every time I see him smile, I'm like, okay.
We have a question from one of the comments. Nikki Long 082 says, "How can we start to forgive ourselves for not knowing ourselves and our ex, making mistakes and self-sabotaging relationships that lead to heartbreak?" That is very deep, because I can definitely say too often people don't realize that they're self-sabotaging a relationship or self-sabotaging themselves by, like you were saying, going and moving on too fast. Allow yourself time to heal. Allow yourself time to process what you went through. Where was your flaws and your accountability in that relationship? You can't just say, oh, it was all this person. And so often we're quick to say, okay, everything was my ex. I did nothing wrong. I was perfect. If you think you were perfect in every relationship and everything, it was only your exes, you're going to continue to move on and continue to be hurt.
And keep lying.
And keep lying to yourself.
You know, we actually also do premarital, right? We do a premarital. We have a premarital course. And we had a gentleman in our premarital course. He had been married several times. I just put it that way. But each time he said, you know, something was wrong with his ex-wives.
Oh, because there's nothing wrong with him.
There's nothing wrong with him, right? But then he married a young lady, and then they're not together 30 days, right? They get married because which we already kind of figured. We had already.
I mean, we had already peeped them and told them, y'all, this is not a good idea, and they quit coming to premarital.
Right? And so, you know, but
they wanted a way out. They wanted a way out.
Right. And so what happened, and then here's the thing, because unfortunately for the young lady, she had been accustomed to being abused. So she was attracting kind of, you know, she had this magnet going on and not really realizing.
He was religiously abusive.
I mean, seriously religiously abusive.
Oh.
You know.
That's a whole different level.
Exactly.
It still is.
None of it is good.
And with some physical abuse in there as well. You know,
because that religious abuse that makes you question yourself, but that also makes you question God. Like,
yeah, I mean, because
you put me in this, you allowing this. Is this what's happening to me?
Right?
Are you okay?
Spiritual gaslighting at that point.
But
Absolutely.
And if you're
that's
looking
worse
for
than physical abuse.
Exactly.
And if you're looking for a spiritual man, a man who may be prone to religious abuse, he could be attractive if you're not healthy. Why? Because he's going to speak the God language you like.
Yep.
He's going to sound
like
he's going to talk like he got fire shut up in his bones. And
he might throw some tongues in there too.
Kickstarter. Literally. Literally. And that's across all religions, right? We're not even just talking about one particular religion.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah, not just our belief system, but any belief system.
Exactly. You know, and so when you have somebody who's spiritually gaslighting you, and you don't know you, or you haven't healed, and you don't allow yourself to go through a courtship process before moving forward, that's a recipe for disaster.
It is. I think, wow. I won't say what I started to say, because I'm a believer in you can't unpack so much, and then we just don't have the time to. And I think that would be something certain things that I don't want to trigger anyone to get some feelings and emotions about things that they would need to sit down with you all to unpack, you know what I mean, over time, etc. Because I think we make that mistake sometimes where we open pen, everybody got all their stuff out, and then like, oh, look at the time, and then they stuck with all of this stuff out. But I think to the individual's question, I think what's powerful that they don't realize is when you said, how do you start? How did they start at the beginning?
how can you start to forgive us? How can we start to forgive ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
You've already started. You've already,
Self-sabotage that led to heartbreak.
The question,
in
you've
my opinion,
already started.
you've already started the process by first asking the question openly.
Exactly.
Secondly, you acknowledge that that is something that you are trying to deal with and go through. This is just my opinion.
Right.
And thirdly, the fact that not only did you ask the question openly and that you processed and figured out that that's what's going on or whatever, you're taking accountability because you're saying forgiving yourself, meaning that you're taking ownership that you had part in whatever happened and however many times it happened. So I applaud you, first of all, for even asking the question outright. And I'm a believer in that. The moment that you come out in the open about anything, whatever it is, whatever your belief system is, whatever your God is, whatever you believe in, whatever you pray to, I think you and them took the time to say, okay, now it's time to go ahead and get out there, to start seeking help, to start getting some other opinions, to start forging some other relationships to help you combat what you're dealing with. So I think, in my opinion, you've already started the process, and pat yourself on the back.
Exactly.
You know, give yourself a pound, however you congratulate. However you congratulate and greet yourself, you know, whatever it is, take a shot, go shopping, whatever you need to do. But you ought to thank yourself for recognizing that about yourself and that you've already started the steps and you're already moving forward. You just have to recognize it. And I just want myself and us to be one of the ones to say to you, you're already taking the process right now. You're already in the process of it. The wonderful thing about when we say we're going through, and a pastor and very good friend of mine said that to me years ago. I was walking in church with my head down, and it isn't even about church, because I know some folks like, oh, church this, God this, God that. I just happened to be at church, y'all. Sorry.
Right. I was just in the building. You was in the building.
I was in the building. I was in the building
that day.
I'm walking, and I walk by, and he's a friend of mine as well, a friend and brother of mine. And I'm walking by, and I go, he's like, David, how you doing today? I said, oh, you know how we do. And I'm just going, you know, y'all can pretend, but you know how we do. Oh, Pastor, I'm just going through. And you waiting for them to say some huge, ecumenical, outstanding, magnificent statement. He says, oh, well, amen, and walk by. And I was like, okay, now I can't say what I said in my spirit at church, but I will paraphrase and say, what did this ninja just say to me? So I was like, you know, I got the little thing out, and I was like, okay, take two. We're going to try this again. Mm-hmm. So I walked by him, and I say, well, Pastor, I don't think you heard me. I said, I'm going through. And he said, okay, amen. Congratulations. I lose it. I can't believe you telling me, you know, amen and congratulations. And so he's sitting there. He ain't budged. Now, to give a little context to the story, he's an Islander. And, you know, Islanders, they're just different. In my opinion, he's Bohemian. Mm-hmm. So he ain't getting all excited with me. He's just sitting there looking at me with his sandals on in the wintertime, whole nother conversation, looking at me. And he says, David, my brother, what I'm trying to say to you is you're going through it, which means you're not stuck.
You're not stagnant.
You're not standing in it.
That's beautiful.
Even in standing still, and I'm going to post this, and I'll probably post it later. Standing still is a motion that creates the solidification of an emotion. So even though you're standing still, in your stillness, that is a decision. That's a motion. That's a motion to not do anything about your situation. That is a motion to not do anything about what's going on in your life. If you're going through it, that means you're trudging your way through it. You're making your way. What the old folks used to say, I'm pressing my way forward.
Pressing my way through it.
I'm kicking, but not too high.
I'm kicking, but not too high. Oh Lord, you don't have to move my mountain, but give me the strength to climb. You don't have to move my stumbling block, just lead me all around. I told you, I've been doing it a minute.
Okay, I hear you, brother.
So the thing is that we can't be stuck. And I think just the conversation that we're having now and the stuff that we're sharing is sharing the fact that we may not know it all in our professional lives or whatever, but I can speak to being stuck. Been there, done that. Bought the t-shirt, got the wristband, a couple of the hats. Been stuck before. And it took my father at the time when I was stuck to look at me and say, you know what? You're not going to die on my couch. Because I can see it in you. I can see you have no fight left in you. I can see you hurt, you're frustrated, you're broke, this, that, and the third, etc. But there's two things you're not going to do. Number one is there's only one king in this castle and you ain't it. So whatever you decide to do, you're going to do it on the other side of that door, and you got 2 weeks to do it. The second thing he said is you won't die here. And he wasn't saying it to say he was kicking me out. He was saying to say, because of what I've instilled in you and what I know about you, you're not going to stay here and die. And I think sometimes we have to look at the context when somebody's telling us or speaking, trying to speak into us. We're not always necessarily speaking to them here. We're speaking to that representative, like Misco said, because sometimes your representative ain't even trying to help you. But your heart and your determination and your gut and your fortitude is like, man, I can't stay here. But your representative is like, oh, you can't let nobody see you down. You got to dress it all up and get out and look like you all right. And then we do that and we start that sick cycle back again. And then from the abusive standpoint, like the brother was saying, it's called the crazy cycle. The crazy cycle in the honeymoon phase, they run hand in hand. The honeymoon phase is when you act like it's not there and you pretend and everything is, you know, Lucy, I'm home.
Right.
And then I know y'all. I'm gonna stop in a minute.
And then, hey, I'm with you though, bro. I'm with you.
Sir.
I'm with you.
And then the other side of it is that you'll do that and you'll keep going back to that toxicity. You'll keep going back to listening to old Luther when he had weight on him. You will go back to because nobody didn't want thin Luther. They didn't want thin Luther. They didn't want that. They want, they'll listen to old Mary J when she was on drugs, etc., so on and so forth. You see what I'm saying? And we put ourselves in them states because it's not even comfortable. It's just what we know.
It's
so we don't
familiar.
It's familiar. Thank you. I couldn't get to the word. Thank you very much. It's familiar, and that's what we do. Practice makes permanent. I say this on every live. I say this practice makes permanent. It becomes muscle memory to have an issue.
That pain is familiar. I can bear that pain.
Yes, absolutely. So I totally agree. I appreciate that.
I agree with everything you said. That reminded me of a message that a prophet that was at my church Sunday gave to us. And he was just saying, like you were saying, keep moving. Don't remain stagnant. He was saying that, sometimes we get complacent and we get comfortable and what's the norm. Even if the norm is dysfunction, even if the norm is toxic, even if the norm is hurtful to us, we're accustomed to it. So we don't want to change and we don't want to move. And at that time, when he was giving that message, his brother had just passed. He got word while he was up preaching. And his father had been transported to hospice. And that people were saying, well, aren't you going to stop, what you're doing and rush and take a flight to get to them? Because he had flew into Miami to, do this revival. So he was like, no, for what? He was like, this is where my assignment is. He was like, I can't get distracted from my assignment. I realize that my assignment isn't changing or that I can't run off to that because what am I running to? He was like, my brother is gone. He was like, I'll deal with that when I have to deal with that. The pain is still
right now.
This is what I'm focused on.
That's right.
I'm focused on giving you this word that I was meant to come here and give you.
That's right.
And that's whatever you're going through, however you're feeling, keep moving. If it hurts, keep moving. Embrace the change. And as you take a step forward, as you were saying, muscle memory, as you take a step forward to change and as you take a step forward to heal, you moving towards changing that pattern that you were accustomed to. It's one day at a time. It's not an overnight process.
Right.
And we look for quick fixes and everything because we're a society of, okay, you can just go get cosmetic surgery or you can just go do this and it'll fix it. Everything can't be quickly fixed.
And that's how we run. And that's how we run. And that's how we run into different relationships.
Right.
Yes.
And that's how we get past the courting process or
we call it the courting.
Or circumvent the courting process because a lot of times we're coming out of a situation. In some instances, maybe not everybody. I don't want to claim this on everybody, but a lot of us don't know how to court. We have been told that looking at TV or looking at these things, and people are already, getting put together. And I mean, these people get paid to do that, for one thing.
Yeah.
They're actors. They get paid to do that. But we try to make life imitate art. And so what we do is get involved. We get deep into it. We don't take our time to get to learn somebody. Somebody gonna tell you that that's lame, or that's this, or that's that. And instead of getting to know one another, even for men, I will say this for men, because I'm a man myself, obviously. So, but one of the things that we do, we don't have a problem with sleeping with someone. And we have to be better about that as well. We can't just sleep with someone. We have to get to know them, because not only are we getting their body, but we also giving them our body. So, and sleeping with someone is not a part of the courting process. I say, man, I gotta check it out before I get with her. That is the most ignorant thing I've ever heard. But I grew up in a time that was okay. That was the thing, man. I gotta test it before I go. Before I start making.
It's come back around. It's not far off. Everything repeats itself every 10 to 15 years.
Exactly, and now is at a point where you have to be in a position as a man, because I know we've been talking a lot about how women been operating. But as a man, you got to have a little more discipline and say, let me really find out about this sister before I get caught up, because there are some, pretty crazy women out there too that's not looking to take a L either. Right. True talk. And then next thing you know, my wife got me looking at Snap and Deadly Women and women with knives, and I was like, these women out here, these women serious. You know what I mean? They ain't taking no L's, and you run up on one who she felt like she gave you her body. She gave you what she believed is her virtue. Mm-hmm. And then now here you go, just discarding her.
But this is also where we as women, though, have to do that. The sexuality and sharing your body is a virtue, but there are so many other things about you that are virtuous, mm-hmm. that you can share with someone and that you can withhold, that have nothing to do with the physical.
Right. Well, right. As a man, we have to also understand that men have virtue as well.
Yes.
And I don't think that's spoken on a lot.
Because y'all are not encouraged to be virtuous. Y'all are supposed to go out there and, hit it, as you will. But the ladies are told to, be ladies and to preserve yourself. But if ladies do that, who you gonna hit?
Right. Well, I mean, that is kind of foolish, right? That is kind of foolish. But I'm saying maybe we need to start having a conversation where we're talking to men and saying, hey, you need to be virtuous. You need to keep yourself together. They make it easy by, giving you stuff that, make it easy to have sex. You can take a pill, you can wrap it up, you can do all types of stuff, where then it's just so easy, accessible to sleeping with one another and not getting to know the person that you actually want to engage with.
Right.
Right. And so that again at that point circumvents and actually what's the word I'm looking for? Shuts out courtship. Exclude, that's the word I'm looking for. It actually excludes the process of courting. Mm-hmm. And or we call courting sleeping together. I'm get with it. We together, we sleeping together, so we're courting. What is that?
Well, I think it's funny that we said that, because just even the term courting alone, some folks is probably in the room like, wow, they actually using that term, because the term itself, they just don't use anymore.
Right, it's dated. Right.
Yeah, if I can push the envelope a little bit with what you stating, that is because like for instance, right now, it's cuffing season. You know, it's
Right.
cuddle buddy season right now. So people, they ain't trying to get to know anyone outside of that because, you know, God forbid we get shut down again and can't do anything. But you know, we shut down and we locked up or living up with these individuals potentially, and then it's like, okay, well, what do I do in a situation like that? You know, it's cuffing season and I'm in here with this individual that I don't love yet. I'm not sure if I like them, and I don't really want to know if I want to learn them because now I can't get away from them because I'm stuck. I don't have any time to be myself, have my own time, my free time, my self time, this, that, and the third, etc. And if I could say, for lack of a better term, the realistic approach to stuff like that is, they like, well, I ain't trying to court. You know, I'm trying to figure all this out because y'all didn't do, and when they say y'all, they talk about us old heads. You know, y'all did it this side or the other way, and that's just not the way it is. Now, the problem, or what it runs into down the line sometimes is when we get, and I'm talking about men, so y'all get mad if y'all won't.
Right.
Men get to a certain age, number one, that you have to take the pill. Hello, somebody. That's a conversation. Because you didn't do well.
That a real conversation.
I mean, you didn't eat right, take care of yourself, exercise or whatever. So now you got to take the Joker. Secondly, I know I'm gonna have my dude lit up, boy. JD, I know you in here. Help me out, bro.
You ain't shocked us. Keep going.
Bro. So
and it has nothing to do with age.
Exactly.
So then no, it doesn't. You're absolutely right. It doesn't. It has everything to do with, you know, yourself. But then you get down the line and you get to where now, as long as I'm and brother, you know this, as long as I'm a sugar daddy, I'm straight. Because somebody want these coins.
Exactly.
And for them coins, you got to do a little something for these coins.
Exactly.
And so that's what it comes down to. And unfortunately, not holistically, but unfortunately, that becomes the dynamic now, is that these some young sisters and even some young men go after the cougars or the sugar daddies. And that's what it ends up turning into. And again, with it being cuffing season in certain areas, I'm in Pittsburgh, so it gets a little cold here. But some of them southern states or whatever, you know, if y'all see a snowflake, y'all shutting everything down anyway.
Everything, brother.
Everything getting shut down.
Everything.
So the problem that I don't want to call it a problem. The difference is it's just viewed a totally different way. It's just looked at a totally different way. The way we're saying and the way we're suggesting for the subject matter or whatever is understandable. We also know, and I know you guys also know, as far as what you come across, and Misco has done topics on other subjects and been on other interviews or whatever when different thises and that's come up. I think if we have to tackle what we're dealing with when we come across it, and to do your best to give yourself all the tools necessary when you come across it. My father was always telling us when we were younger, my brother and I, because there's just the two of us, don't ever say what you will never do, because you don't know what you'll do in those circumstances. And I say all that to say it's easy for us, and okay, not us, for me. It was easy for me to always say, oh, I'm a court, I'm going to do this. I have my little timeline. At this age, I'm going to do this. At this age, I'm going to do that. At this age, I'm going to get married. This age, I'm going to have children or whatever. Timeline jacked up. Just jacked up. In that is where I, to be a little transparent, started inflicting damage on myself emotionally, because I was giving myself deadlines instead of setting goals, because they are not the same. The two are not the same in my opinion. So sometimes that happens in relationships and whatnot as well, is that people will say, they'll give deadlines or they give ultimatums, you know, what you need to do. Well, you need to marry me by this time, or you know, you need to give up the kitty before this time, or you know, all of that. Those are the real conversations that I'm sure you all come across, and the things that are actually happening, which take down that road of our buttons, our switches being flipped, and our triggers being toggled. That's what is happening, is that we're not having, like we're doing right now, actual cutthroat, hard conversations and saying, hey, this is what it is. This is what's actually going on. And anytime something changes in the vein of a relationship, whether you're trying to court anyone or not, there needs to be a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be an opportunity to say, okay, what happened? Something has shifted. What's going on? And to sit down and have that conversation, or to get people like myself, yourselves, or Misco, or someone as a mediator, so someone can always go through the steps of conversation, and it's not just a monologue. Because you'll get someone, they'll start rambling off and rambling off. You're both saying the same thing, but people are listening to respond and not to hear.
Mm-hmm.
That's what turns into a whole big other mess, and that you know, you end up in the middle of the field somewhere and don't know how you got there.
Mm-hmm.
Say, bro, let me ask you a question. You say you're in Pittsburgh?
Yes, sir.
All right. You from Pittsburgh?
No, sir. I'm originally in Iowa. I'm from Midwest originally.
Oh, okay. I'm saying you with them Steelers, huh?
Well, Iowa had the colors first, so you know that gold and black wasn't easy to. It wasn't hard to transfer over to. But
okay.
Yeah, I'm a team guy. I like team and players. That way, I can stay in arguments a lot easier.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah. I just wanted you to know, but my bingo's on top of that division right now. I just thought I'd let you know.
Oh, that's understandable. And every time they come here, we try to treat them with the utmost hospitality that we can.
Well, I wanted to reflect on two things that both of you said. Well, Queen said, speaking about virtue, women have to know what their virtue is. They have to know what their self-worth is outside of their physical being. And we lack that knowledge, and we don't instill that in our kids anymore, that you're more than just your looks. You're more than just your body. Because we now have so many videos and social media that all they tell kids is, oh, you cute, you pretty, you can dance, you can shake your butt, and that's all you teaching them. So we have to get back to instilling those values, those morals, and that enlightenment into our women and our kids in regards to your value is worth more than just your physical being.
Mm-hmm.
And then also where you were saying, someone was asking a question pertaining to, I lost my thought. It'll come back to me.
Okay.
But yeah, we definitely have to know that we are worth more than our physical being. Oh, that's the question. Somebody asked me, how do we go about courting without being harsh? It's okay for you to set boundaries. If your boundaries offend someone, that means that they're not for you.
I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know what that means.
Right, harsh. How do you be harsh?
Why you don't have to be harsh.
To court.
No. I think they feel like being harsh is saying, okay, no, you can't come over to my house. That's your temple. That's your personal space.
I don't even.
They need to. Because
I kept that because I have a daughter, and at that time I also had a daughter, and I had a friend, teenage daughter, who was living with us. She stayed with us for a couple of years. And so, no, you can't come to my house. I got girls in my house. But that was never something that I even discussed. I never said, you can't come to my house. It was, sure, you like to see, you want to meet on Tuesday? That would be great. Where?
Facts.
I mean, my home was never the meeting spot.
And I think because so many women have it where now the guy's either trying to meet you at your house or trying to get you to come over to his house. That's not just, to me, that's not courting for me.
Right.
We going out somewhere.
There. I want to get to know you.
Right.
I don't need to.
And them closed quarters makes for bad circumstances. Right.
Exactly.
If you know you're weak, if you weaken your flesh as a woman, or you weaken your flesh as a man, you don't need to be in close quarters with nobody else.
Exactly.
You talking Netflix and chill? I got a laptop. We can Netflix.com. We can get Netflix anywhere. We don't have to be at your house. We can watch Netflix on my phone.
Come on.
So
now.
you're like, you know what? I know you don't got an account. Here's my password. You go ahead. You good. Squid Game. Watch Squid Game. You be all right.
As a matter of fact, I can be at the house and you can be at your house and we can watch it together at that point right there.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So that and we can converse while we watching a movie.
Right.
Right.
I can FaceTime you while we watch it together. No,
Hey,
I don't have to go to your house.
I got a son that's been courting this young lady for the last 2 years, and they've been doing that. They've been watching movies together every weekend.
They getting ready to get married.
And they getting ready to get married because they've been courting for the last 2 years.
They tired of courting.
They tired of courting at this point.
I mean, they ran out of, at some point you also you run out of appropriate things to do.
Right. And to talk about.
Right. You run out of appropriate things to do, appropriate things to talk about, because at some point you do need to take it to the next level. And because of school, COVID, family illness, but particularly COVID, and then the distance between them, things were delayed. But this is also an issue when someone's saying the time, you know, something like we plan and God plans. But the other part of that is, even with courtship will wear thin on you. Right. You know, you can, if you do all the right things, sometimes the next step really is this: either we're going to elevate each other, or we're going to step away from each other.
Right. And I think people they don't want to take that risk. They rather hold on to something. And I hate to use her as an example because she's always saying how happy she is. But Chrissy Lumpkin, she's engaged to the rapper Jim Jones, and they have been engaged for years. She originally proposed to him, and then like 2 years later, he proposed to her, but they have yet to get married. So she's been engaged to him for years, and people have always made fun of the fact, like, you just still stuck there, so he knows you're not going anywhere. So that expectation and that goal that you want fulfilled of being married has yet to happen, because you basically settling, like, I don't want to lose this person, so I'm gonna just hold on to what little part, what portion they're willing to give me. You have to know that you're worth more than that. Because you're wasting your time, and then if you finally decide to leave, the longer you wait, the longer you feel like you're wasting your time.
Right. Well, and then what we've also seen is that some people don't go beyond courtship because I have to stay here because I've already seen that I don't like you in other areas.
Yep, that's the truth.
And because I don't like you, and I'm thinking about that, our premarital couple, because I don't like you in other areas, I don't ask you to interact with my children because I didn't like who you are as a parent. I didn't like how, I won't call you a parent, but how you partnered with me when it came to my children. So if you don't like how you partner with them when it comes to your children, what do you think will happen if you married this person?
Well, I think the interesting thing, to go back to the men part, if we're gonna be honest about the man part, like my brother said, and some women do also. Well, I got a couple of homegirls that are savages, like downright. Woo! I won't even introduce them to nobody because they just. I'm like, nah, you ain't leaving no bodies around my house. No,
exactly.
No, savages. I think that sometimes, and because I don't want to make it seem like it's just men, like he said. I mean, just women. What men will tend to do, and what we can tend to do, is I like this part about her. I like this part about her. She's financially savvy. She look good. She's a lady in the street, but she's a freak in the sheets. She shout real good at church, but she sing real good at church. You see what I'm saying?
Woman.
Yeah. So, right. So it's like there's all these elements and all of these pieces, and one of them may have all of those traits. But like you said, we get to a stopping point, or we didn't stop when we should have way back when, or whatever. It's like it's like traveling somewhere before we had GPS, when we actually used maps and stuff. Or
MapQuest.
Started out MapQuest, right? Yeah. But the stubborn thing, and it's not true, y'all. Y'all lying. All men don't just keep driving. We don't all do that. Some of us stop for directions. But it's literally that situation. And since we're talking about Pittsburgh, there's some areas in Pittsburgh on the turnpike, like they're lit on the street. They're literally 10 minutes away. But on the turnpike, if you miss that turn, you on the turnpike for 30 minutes. You're on the turnpike for 20 minutes. And what we don't do sometimes is when we see it's our time to get off, we don't switch lanes and start to veer off or prepare to get off, we like, oh, well, I can get off a little bit later down here. The later ain't a year, it's 10. Like you said about them. It ain't when you haven't given in, it's after you have gave in.
Right.
Because
And
if we're
because
gonna be
I
real
gave
about it,
in, I don't know
right.
how to pull back. I
Well,
really
can we
see
just-
that I
can we
shouldn't
be
be
transparent?
here, but I
We
don't know
gonna go
how
deeper.
to pull back, because
Let's
pulling
go
back
deeper.
means letting go of you. And
Right.
there are things
Right.
about you that I like, but when you hold on to someone, you hold on to the totality of them. They're not,
Right.
you don't get to toss the other parts. And so what this particular couple that I'm thinking about, what they have done is there are parts of their lives that they don't really like. And so they have literally separated them out, like put them in storage boxes. We don't talk about them. We don't share that part. We don't discuss it. How do you do that and be married?
Well, we compartmentalize, and it's like, not me, because I can, but I could barely cook myself, and then I find out that you want to give me oodles and noodles, or you find out.
I'm like,
don't talk about him now. Wait, don't talk about him right now. No, don't talk about him right now. Just,
my man.
I was told.
I like you, boy. I like you. You said David, right? You named David, right?
I was told and I was taught, learn how to cook, because when you piss her off, you won't starve to death. That's what I was taught. So, but then we find out that the cookies weren't no good either, on either side. I'm talking about the PP wasn't no good, and the cookie wasn't no good either. And you trying to, this is the conversation we have, and I'm sorry.
We having this conversation.
So then that happens, and then it's like, dang, because like you said, I have given this up now, and then I didn't found out. I'm just using the term. I didn't found out it's trash, and I'm stuck. So now here comes the guilt. Here comes the frustration. Here comes the, oh my God, I shouldn't have.
the shame,
all of that.
because everyone knows and thinks that we're such this great couple.
Right.
And we have to keep up the representation.
Right. The image.
Right.
And can I be transparent further? And I'm not saying I was being funny about the sexual part, but I'm talking about, dang, I didn't want him over my house, and I finally let him come over. Now he know where I live. Now she know where I live. She know what my job is. All of those things have just as much impact on certain individuals. It's not just the sexual piece. Sometimes it's like, dang, I've been flossing, but they didn't know this suit been sitting up in my closet for 2 years. I just ain't been nowhere to go. I ain't been nowhere to be able to wear it. I work all the time. The reason why I got money is because I don't never do nothing. I work 3 jobs. You know what I mean? So then when you finally have to come out of that, because you're like, oh, I can't work all the time now because I got to spend time with this person, that money go away quick, because now you're trying to wine and dine and Netflix and chill, and you only have the little small account on Netflix, so you can only do it on one device. So you got to up to the full one. So you got to you got to go to that one.
My man go hard, don't he?
You trying to be. Oh well, I do this, that, and the third. Well, I have to make sure. I not only do I got to have Netflix, I got to make sure Fire Stick wasn't in my account. It's always something, a process of something. It's not just a sexual piece. There's all types of
There's all type of things that's going on here. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And I give you, I share this last thing for myself, because I don't know what type of time we got, but I have a person that, had a person that they courted, and he wasn't clear, or he wasn't he was lying. Let me just stop playing. He was lying, right? And so, he's faking like he had some loot, faking like he had some type of clout. But then when he got married, and when they finally married, then it became a thing of, okay, he's not that. He don't really have any money to take care of me. He doesn't have a job. He talk about he got a business, but he at the house all day long. Don't really does anything, and his sex ain't no good.
Wait, he said and. Y'all ain't catch that.
And.
He said
Right.
and.
And the sex was no good. You know, and the sex was no
He
good.
couldn't get it up.
Right. He was having some
That's
issues.
not funny. There's some real issues out there. That's so not funny. It's
but-
funny the way you said it, but it's not funny.
You know, but the idea is, had they and with the courting
But we
process,
told them not to get
well,
married.
I told her not to marry.
Right.
But with the courting process, this is the other thing that needs to take place. When you're courting, you also need to know people who know them and know people who know the people who know them.
Wow.
You know, and that's
Well, literally, you have to know their court.
Exactly. And that's what people are not look. You know, oh, I know him. Then you meet some of his friends, and then his friends are just as raggedy as he is or she is. But you don't know. You don't have any referrals or references. Okay, you don't know anything about his history. You don't know anything about her history. You just know what they tell you.
Right.
And so that's also too a part of the courting process. You get to know them not by just the things that they say, but also what somebody else is saying about them as well.
Their
other relationships.
Right. And, you know, people will say, oh, well, you know, I'm not real close to my family. Okay, maybe you're
Why
not.
aren't you real close to them?
Okay, right. And maybe you're not real close to them, but how do you see them? How do you interact, you know, with them? Your work relationships. How do you interact with the people at your jobs? How long do you keep a job? You know, what does your work history look like? All of these things are about a person's relationships. Oh, I'm real private and I don't have a whole lot of friends. Well, are you an alien? I mean, did you just shoot down? I mean, so do you have a social security number? I mean, where did you come from? And people will innocently make it.
I need your government name. Stop saying you Ray. Stop saying you Ray.
People will very innocently explain away their relationship isolation. And they will make it seem like, oh, don't pay the attention. But matter of fact, you should feel good because ain't none of them people around, but I want to be with you.
Right.
How come ain't none of them people around?
Come on, red flag.
Exactly. And this is what courtship and all you.
Ouch.
Uh-oh.
Oh man, where'd it go?
I think they'll come back.
Okay.
For me, one of the biggest red flags is people saying that's just me. That's who I am.
Yep.
If it's toxic, if it's negative, I don't want no part of it.
Right, absolutely. Because the funny thing about it is, and what she was saying is, and the brother brought it up earlier, and I think you mentioned it too, is you can't drop bombs and then just leave. You can't do that.
Right.
You know, you realize what is the common denominator. If when the brother said earlier, the gentleman's wives, plural, they was this and they was that or whatever, the common denominator is you. Sooner or later, you got to look in the mirror. Sooner or later, you got to say, I'm tripping, or I'm the issue, or I'm lazy, or I'm not doing enough, or I'm not doing coming all the way back full circle to self-awareness, self-sufficiency, self-care, self-identity.
And accountability.
What am I doing that has me a loner if I haven't chosen to be one?
Right.
Why if everybody is saying the same, like if everybody is saying the same thing and none of them people know each other, I mean, come on. At some point you got to be like, oh, okay, well maybe I do that a little bit, but if
be amazed at the people who don't though, because even if
not at all, because I see them every day. I ain't amazed.
If you've had repetitive, unsuccessful relationships, at some point you still ask, for what reason are you attracting these types of people? For what reason are you what type of person is it that you are that you are pulling into your life, that the two of you are not able to fulfill some type of long-term partnership. And I say long-term, and I'm not talking forever, because I do realize that sometimes divorce is also a part of a relationship.
Or breakups.
You're right. You may have a couple of love of your lives, but you've had 5 in the last 2 years. That's a problem.
That's a major problem. The time frame and the number alone.
It was
right
not,
there, them two.
but here's the math. Here's the math. You said 5. You said 5 in how many years?
2 years.
Okay, so if that's 5 in 2 years, that's 2 during cuffing season. There's 1 during there's 1.
Do the math, bro. Do the math.
Watch.
Oh, man.
There's 2 during cuffing season. There's 1 during tax season.
Oh, come on.
Yep, that's 1 during tax season. And then the other 2, if you go back last year, was for the first stimulus check, and then the other one was for the
wow. My man.
The numbers don't lie.
My man.
numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie.
My
Numbers don't lie.
You got your cup long doing stimulus, right?
But that
Yeah.
speaks to the character of the women as well, because we
Boom.
have so many women that are vulnerable and need to have a man so bad. They'll give them their money, they'll move them in with their kids and don't know them. And then when he's doing something to your kids, you be like, oh, I didn't know that about him. You didn't give yourself a chance to know him.
And to keep it on the men, again, you have brothers that is out here naked. You don't have a car note in your name. You don't have your own place.
But you got a Cuban link. That's real. You got Jordans.
Yeah. You stay in a fresh pair of Air Force Ones, but you driving somebody else's car. You don't pay your name. Nothing has your name on it. You have no mail that comes with your name on it. None whatsoever.
And that's what I'm saying. And those things actually should be uncovered in
Yes.
courtship.
Absolutely.
In our premarital, we ask, do you know your credit score? But one of the ways that we ask it is because, they're talking about getting married. So cohabitation, if they're not already living together, is one of the next steps. Does anyone have anything in their criminal or credit history that will prevent you from having access to stable housing?
Correct.
Now,
And
we just asked it a totally different way. I just asked you about your criminal history, and I just asked you about your credit.
right.
Because you can't rent.
Right.
We ain't even said anything about buying nothing. You
Not at
can't
all.
even rent.
Right.
We ask about health insurance too, Chabella. We do. What we say is, will you be bringing your own health insurance to the marriage, or will the two of you be providing it? What will you be doing in regard to medical care?
Is my policy benefiting you? Is your policy benefiting me? Or do we need to keep what we got until we figure it out next year when we can re-up in January?
Exactly. And that is and these are the real conversations that we have. And so when people say, well, I didn't know that she had this criminal history. And then you find out when you go to try to get an apartment and you can't, because this person is on house arrest. You thought they were a homebody.
Right.
But that leads back to proper communication. You have to take accountability. You can't place all the blame on someone else if you didn't properly communicate and ask those questions and engage on that conversation. But yet, you could jump on social media and put a lot on social media, but you can't have a conversation with the person you laying up with. There's some issues there.
Because Misco, like you said, that is the representative. Like you said earlier, that representative, that the sister said that particular person that's out there, that's the one that's doing all the false advertising.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the that's the puppet, not the puppet master.
Okay, I'm gonna use us, and we are definitely not the best role model for everything. Okay.
Disclaimer accepted. Go right ahead.
But when we're talking about, the representative and the access, even though Hasan, he shared things with me, the good and the bad, and I'm hoping vice versa, it still didn't mean that he got access to those things. Even though I feel like he was and we go back now and we even know how we did some things wrong and we would have done some things differently. But while he and I really believe that we were being transparent with each other, even the things that he was vulnerable about and that he shared, it still didn't mean that he would get Naaila like that. I don't care how much you tell me, how much you share with me, you still have to earn to be able to put your hand in the kitty.
Come on.
Literally and figuratively.
And we don't make people earn anything anymore. And then you wonder why they don't appreciate it. You wonder why they don't value it. You can't find someone who's gonna find value in you if you don't find it in yourself.
Right. So him sitting, because the other part of this is how you can get got in courtship is someone can be transparent and they can tell you y'all okay. She felt like he was open because he had some health issues. What did he have?
He had a retracted no, he had hepatitis C.
Right. He had hepatitis C. So, that's a communicable disease, but he was transparent about it, and she appreciated and actually respected him for sharing this information with her. Okay, and then he even told her that he had some sexual dysfunction. Okay. He told her what he was willing to do about it, and they even discussed how they were going to keep her safe from the hepatitis. Oh, he is the man, right? Look at him, just being so honest.
He gave
so forward.
You put him on the pedestal for giving it to you.
Yes. Isn't this what every woman wants? And then they get married. But what he didn't tell her is that he had, what do you call it?
A retracted penis.
A retracted penis.
I will hang up on y'all right now. I will
and so there is no medicine for the retracted
I will hang
penis.
up on y'all right now.
There's no medicine for the retracted penis.
I can't. I'm sorry. I can't.
And then they had talked about how she cracking up.
I can't. Oh my God. I can't.
No, this is a true story, y'all. No, stay with us.
I'm here. I'm here for it.
Somebody said, "What's that?"
That means his penis go back in instead of coming out.
His penis is retracted back into his body. And so even after taking, multiple drugs to be able to make himself
right to have an erection.
I'm glad I can't see the comments.
Because it's still retracted.
Right. So literally he got a nubby.
Okay. Okay. And then I'm not finished.
Oh yeah, because it's more than that one.
And then the agreement that they had made in regard to keeping her safe from the hepatitis, then he says, I don't want to do that either.
Right. And then he says in order for it to come out, he needed oral sex in order for it to come out. Right? In order for him to be able to put the condom on.
Okay. And you know what? And I'm not even saying that she may be willing to even pleasure. Somebody say he got an Annie.
Yeah, he got an Annie.
I can't see the comments. I'm so appreciative of not being able to see the comments. I promise.
Someone said, wait, he got a micro peen. I'm going to read it to you, brother. We ain't going to be the only one.
You don't have to share. You do not have to share.
You do not have to share.
She said that's my worst fear. Okay, so let's say she was even willing to stimulate him orally. All right, whatever grown people decide to do, that's between them.
Right.
But there are so many other violations that have occurred.
Oh yeah, a laundry.
Someone is not willing to take another risk.
Right.
I took the risk of taking your transparency and your vulnerability and honest. Lord have mercy. He offered a pacifier.
Stop it. What about the pacifier?
Okay, no. Look, and that's
I can't finish.
And I know him. That's my guy. That's my brother. and I should never have looked because he's
that's your
all
friend.
day long.
That's your friend.
That's my friend. I am so sorry. Jay,
And
you
you're gonna
wrong.
stand beside him.
You wrong,
That's
but
your
you right,
friend.
bro.
Stand with him. Stand with him. It's okay. Stand with him.
That's my dude.
Man.
That's my brother. That's my man. That's my man. 50 grand. Pill song, sir. That's my guy. Oh my goodness.
But see how in the courtship,
Right.
how we're talking about having these open and honest conversations. However, you still want to be sure that you have a person of integrity. And who has good character, who's going to tell you as many of the risks as possible. I want to let you know your friend said, my bad, bro.
No, you good. No, you good. You good,
So
bro.
I guess he trying to recover.
I asked him to come in because he give that energy. So nah, you good. You good.
Somebody
That sounds
said,
like
does
a
it hurt?
manipulator, though.
Well,
He
she
sounds
never
like a
found
manipulator.
out about. She never found out. I mean, because they couldn't be intimate.
She left him immediately.
I mean, like,
Wow.
Immediately.
and so I don't want you to get caught up in thinking that if we're dating and we're courting and we're vibing, you know, we're having these great fluid conversations and it feels good and we feel so safe with each other that this person is being as
authentic and transparent as possible.
That part right there.
Because, you know, he had an agenda
To get her.
to get her.
And you know, he was on a different assignment.
Right.
And it sounds like he's played that out before.
And he probably has.
Right. He had no. Your boy said Tootsie Roll. Get you go there.
I'm sorry. That's my.
Go
I'm
get
sorry.
your boy, man. Get your
I'm
boy.
sorry. No.
If I start
That's
crying
why I
again,
brought him in.
Tootsie Roll.
That's why I brought him in. Why I brought him in. You know how you had that friend that can say what you won't say?
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. I'm that friend to a lot of other people too. So
Okay, so you feel me? You see what I'm talking about? Yeah, that's. There
I
you go.
understand it. I said
And for the record,
for
the record, one of the best girl dads on the planet. And I'm not just saying that because he's my brother, but one of the best girl dads on the planet.
That's what's
Kudos
up.
to
That's
you.
what's up, brother.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
but
Because if someone
she got up out of there because
Right, and
she will stay and make excuses for them.
right. And if someone is willing to put you at risk like that, where are your boundaries? And so, and this is why you also have to question the oversharing.
Oversharing.
Yeah.
Because people, I don't think people recognize that there is such a thing.
Right.
The oversharing piece. It's like, oh, well, I'm an open book. I'm transparent. This and that. Everybody don't want to read the whole book all of the time.
Right.
Because if I can tell you, if I'm just meeting you, having a conversation with you, if I can tell you everything about me in them 10 minutes of that conversation, where else do I have to go? Where else is there to go from? Period.
I just put it all in your lap and you sitting there trying to figure out what to do with it.
Yeah, sometimes that's just entirely too much. You know, sometimes it's too much. And
Like I said, I think that was a
here's the
tactic
thing.
on his end.
Yeah,
and
because here's the thing.
Do that.
Because the thing that I'm looking at with him is, okay, I'm sharing, so I'm gonna give you this emotional attachment to me that I'm so down to earth and I'm so transparent and I'm so real and I'm gonna be a safe place for you. Right. That shit game. Excuse my language, but that shit ain't nothing but game.
And he setting out a bear trap for you.
Because that's all he's doing. A
Just
big
saying.
wide bear trap.
Right, it won't big and wide.
And if she had been a weak woman and didn't know her worth and ready to settle because she felt like she had to have a man to feel like she was a woman, she would have settled for that.
Exactly.
And that's why we have so many people that settle for, okay, we live in a house together, we go half on the bills, but he got a relationship over here and I got a relationship over here. Or you don't even know each other and y'all have kids together.
Yeah.
That's
exactly
mentality.
Bump heads eventually. So eventually that's got to bump heads. It has.
So, last words from you, David.
Last words from me, as always,
What have
is
you learned? What would you impart with others?
what I've learned is you have to take care of yourself. And what I would impart with others is to be easier on yourself. Life is already going to kick you in the tail. It doesn't need any help. So self-care is huge. And I know that firsthand. And I'm sure sometimes down the line we'll get into that more, but self-care is huge. And I promise you, aside from the grace of God and finally recognizing my worth is the only reason I'm able to have this conversation on here with you all now, is because you have to find your center, is what we say in the martial arts world. You have to find your center, your zen. You have to find your worth, and you have to find your commonality to where everything's not always good, your yin and your yang, but you take them together, you take them evenly. And I'm a believer in being water, like the brother said earlier, but water can fit into any receptacle. So any circumstance or situation that comes about, I can always make sure that I can maneuver around it or deal with it. But water also can erode rock, and is one of the very few things on the planet that can. So eventually, whatever's in my way is either going to get overtaken or it's going to eventually erode away. But it's just a process that I have to be patient enough to deal with that erosion. Your pain eventually will erode away. Your frustration will eventually erode away. You just have to be patient enough with yourself and take the time and recognize who you are as an individual. Once you do that, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not instant coffee. It's not microwavable, but you'll get there.
All right, my man.
And your
Yes, sir.
final words, Queen.
Yeah, your last words, Queen.
Know your values and your principles, the core things that matter to you. And when you meet someone who stirs something up on the inside of you, don't change your paper. That you stay firm on your foundation, because what you feel on the inside of you, because he look good, he smell good, he talk good, you'll meet another man who will make you feel the exact same way. But what you need is someone who is going to help you uphold the values and the principles that you have about yourself. You want someone who is going to call you to good. So don't shift because he comes up and he looks a certain way and he speaks a certain way and he's making the promise, or she, they say the right things, or they make the right promises, and you say, well, you know what, yeah, that really doesn't matter to me so much. Maybe it doesn't matter to me so much that this person can't read. That's the true story. And then it literally becomes a problem, because they did marry, that he wasn't able to fulfill his responsibilities that she's expecting, a husband to do because of low literacy levels. Don't shift. If it's important to you, I love a good smelling man. But don't shift just because this person comes up and they make these promises. You stay firm. You don't let somebody come up and just knock you off your square. That's your square. You hold it and you stand off of it. You stand on it.
Yeah.
That's right.
And there's no problem with you like a good smelling man. Just let him have more to come with it.
And they sell Drakkar everywhere.
Facts.
Okay.
And your last words, Hanson.
Well,
Who you thought she was talking to you?
Yeah, she said handsome.
His ego does not need me.
I'm just saying. She called the king out. I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway.
I hear you, Pappy.
But now, seriously though, my thing is making sure that you just uphold who you are and your values. And there's always going to be somebody who's going to come, who will try to come and try to bring you into their plan. Stick to your plan. If you have to tweak it, there's nothing wrong with tweaking it. You know, the idea of just compromise. I don't believe in compromising yourself. I do believe in negotiating.
Negotiating. We don't use the word
right. I do believe in negotiating. So if you are going to come off of something, it's because that person is coming on to something.
Right. And that way it's win-win for
exactly.
every,
you have a win-win situation. But nevertheless, let a courting process take its course. I normally
see he had a gym and it's just like boom. Boy, y'all something else in the comments, boy.
sorry about that. So the courting process, let it take its course. You know, I normally say between 90 and 120 days. That's me.
You make it sound like it's a credit score or something.
Nah, but you better find that joker out.
It's a workout. It's a workout.
Before you give something away that you can't get back. So, and so in that, I just want everyone to know if this person moves your heart, moves your spirit, make sure they got the right tools, because everything feels good in the flutter stage.
Mm-hmm.
True enough.
Very, very true. I would definitely close with know your self-worth, know yourself, know who you serve and who you belong to.
Mm-hmm.
Have some type of spiritual alignment. And I'm not saying you have to be all religious, but have some type of spiritual alignment to know that you have to answer to someone and they have to answer to someone. Right. Be accountable for yourself before you point the finger at someone else. Don't settle. And no matter what the process is, if it hurts you, if it's painful, know that you still have a destination, you still have a goal, you still have purpose, and your purpose and your destination didn't end because of that relationship didn't work.
Right.
So continue on loving yourself, pouring into yourself, spending time with yourself, getting to know yourself before you jump into another relationship, and allow yourself to heal.
For sure.
I agree.
I thank you guys so much for coming on. I thank everyone in the comments who has tuned in tonight. This has been a beautiful experience. I will definitely save this live to my page, as well as I will post it on YouTube so you guys can watch it later if you weren't able to catch the entire live. Thank you guys for tuning in again. Another great episode of Manifesting the Legacy. I thank you guys, and as I always say, I am patiently between blessings. I hope you guys have a blessed night. I send you guys love and light.
You
appreciate
also.
You. Right.
Thank you.
Good night.
Hey, good pleasure to meet you, bro.
Likewise. I'm
and make sure you hit the link at the top and follow everyone who was on the page. So follow David Moore and also follow that Clay couple.
Got you. All right. Appreciate y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Good night.
Good night.